Our next guest on Insights with Nidhi today is Mr. Pankaj Poddar, Chief Executive Officer of Cosmo Films. Thank you so much for giving us the time today, Pankajji. We know that you're extremely busy with your operations, but your words of advice as well as sharing your experiences, we think are going to be very helpful to our industry colleagues. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Nidhi, for inviting me.
How has been the progress towards increasing the utilization of your plants across the last 2 months, sir?
So it has gradually increased. We had to shut down our plants in March, I think on 22nd of March. And then early April, we got permissions to restart them. And I would say by mid of April, we start most of it. And since then, we are continuing with it. We have still kept few lines under shutdown to ensure social distancing more than anything else. Given that Cosmo exports worldwide, so we were never short of orders. We had reasonable orders. And therefore, I would say we are easily running 70-80% as an overall.
Oh, that's a very good percentage, sir. Yeah. Before going to the next question, would you think that your focus on exports will increase now over the oval pie, because the production as well as the consumption in India was low in the last 2 months, since we were few countries which were totally under lockdown. So you would have probably found new markets for exports. You think that that pie will increase more now going forward?
Yes, so in any case, in Cosmo journey, export is going up because our focus is on special products, speciality, films, and therefore, the Indian market from that perspective is smaller, and we have to export globally, and therefore that is something that is going to go always up for Cosmo. Having said so, I think Indian market should revive. I have seen that. Indian businessmen are very quick to respond back, whether it was demonetization, whether it was GST. So it's an initial blip, and I strongly feel that we'll see that within next 1 month, country will get back to, if not its normal, but maybe 70% of what it was doing earlier. The only thing that really needs to be seen is that, what this pandemic really does and how quickly the medicine for it comes, because if that takes too much of time, then and if the cases continue to go up significantly, that's a different story. But if that doesn't happen, then I'm sure that things will get back to, if not normal, maybe 70-80% of what they were.
Yes, I think that's a very optimistic view, Pankajji. With your operations that you have been running, it will be quite a word to latch on. Have you been able to deliver the films also to your customers? Were they in a position to take it and then utilize it, or there was a little glitch there?
So a lot of issues initially in April. I think the biggest concern was employee fear, actually. I would say that was the biggest concern. Many employees were not ready to come back. But sooner than later, it's been almost 2.5 months, and they are realizing that we'll have to learn to live with it unless and until there is a solution which comes. Beyond that, also, there were so many other challenges. There were transportation issues, truck drivers were not there, customs was not operating properly. The good thing was that we were discussing issues on a daily basis. And one thing which I clearly learned is any business continuity plan must have a daily discussion at the senior-most level. Any company which is developing a business continuity plan must make sure that whenever any such situation comes, the most important part is the whole team sit together on a daily basis and discuss what needs to be done. So we did this on a daily basis, and we're still doing it on an alternate basis, trying to sort out the issues. But I would say that the number of issues are coming down every day. We still have challenges that people from NCR are not able to come to our Delhi office, because we have started Delhi office also for last 3 weeks. There are still some employees who are stuck up outside of our plant cities as well. Some of them were able to come back, and some of them were not able to come back. And we had to do a lot of changes, with the emerging problems and the emerging needs of every day, what was going on the ground. But good thing is, I would say things are largely getting streamlined. The number of issues are less. Initially, truck drivers had gone away. They had parked their trucks somewhere. There were containers which are lying in some countries. Some customers could not pay and take the deliveries. So we had those challenges. Largely, it's under control now.
Excellent. I think I've taken that daily meetings hint from you, which we are also going to incorporate. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Pankaj, you were working very aggressively on increasing the barrier properties and development of specialty films. We've been hearing that. You've also spoken in my conference for that. How is it progressing now?
Yeah, so under packaging segment, one of the things that we are trying to do is to help customers with these sustainable products. Now, having said so, the main theme is around mono material structures. Of late, obviously, market is coming with more innovation and is trying to see that even if a structure is not a monolayer, can it still be recycled? It can be recycled, but the challenge is the usability of that cannot happen in so many products. It still has a use. So the whole industry is trying to see how can they shift towards monomaterial structures. And therefore, there is a shift to either polyethylene-based structures or polypropylene-based structures, or even otherwise a mix of polypropylene and polyethylene because they belong to the same family. The interesting thing is that the brands had a very important learning. Earlier, when they were dealing with 4 or 5 or 3 different materials, they had to follow up on all 3 materials. And the brands who were able to shift to one material, they had to do lesser amount of follow-up. Their inventory went down and they were able to run their line smoothly. In fact, we got so many emails from the brands who actually shifted to mono material. They were so happy with what they did. And because of which, they could run their lines much more efficiently during the lockdown. So we continue with this activity. We have already converted many products into a sustainable structure. And again, to answer your question more specifically, barrier is again a very important thing because BOPP in general has a very good moisture barrier, but it does not have as good a oxygen barrier. And we had come out with several films depending on the need of the product. Some had less than 30 OTR oxygen barrier or transmission rate. Some had less than 20, some had less than 10, and some had less than 1, and some had less than 0.1. So there is a range of films that we have come for the consumers at large, for our customers, so that they have different options and they can make different structures so that oxygen barrier does not become a barrier for them to shift to a mono material structure.
Very well said. So that means the government regulation or what they have been saying is that you shift to monolayer in lights of environment and recycling and all. You're already on the path and, we are...
Yeah, very nicely. And I could see some of the brands leading the exercise and they are doing a phenomenally good job. And I'm sure they must be reaping fruits out of it. Excellent,
sir. That's good news there. What is your view on differentiation in application between polyester and BOPP films in India for lamination?
So see, to my understanding, polyester came first in India and then BOPP came later on. And therefore, consumers or let's say customers were largely always educated more towards polyester. The other thing is that in India, people always, the sealing machines that were invested were always the lowest cost possible. And therefore, you could not adjust temperatures as much. And therefore, you needed a material which can take higher temperatures or lower temperatures to begin with. And therefore, India always had a 3-layer structure, which is a polyester on the outside for printing. It could be a BOPP metallized or a polyester metallized for a barrier property, and then a polyethylene for sealing. And therefore, very clearly, polyester usage came for the printing layer and at times also for the middle metallized layer when the oxygen barrier requirements were much higher and BOPP could not provide as much oxygen barrier. The other area where polyester was used very largely was bigger bags where, let's say, non-woven solutions were not available till few years back. And therefore, for all the bigger structures, you had, again, the similar structure because both, the LLDP as well as the polyester could hold larger weight. So both these applications, bigger bags and for reverse printing, polyester was used. Having said so, now with brands coming with better machines, now the challenge still is that brands have a machine which is old as well as same brand having a newer machine, and therefore they are still saying the same concern that even if you want to shift to BOPP or something else, we cannot shift because we need something which is more heat resistant. And therefore, Cosmo 3 years back came out with heat resistant film. Initially, we came out with a film which could manage 165 degrees, and then we came with a second version which could handle 185 degree, and the third version which can now handle almost 200 degree. So that is a very big problem which I think Cosmo has sorted out for the industry. But we are, right now only one company, though there are others who have started claiming that they have come with something similar. But as far as my knowledge is concerned, Cosmo is the only popular and hot selling item. So that is another solution. The moment industry gets that at a large level, that a bigger shift can happen from polyester to BOP to make it more of a mono-material structure and therefore more sustainable in nature.
Understood. So maybe like countries or continents like Europe, they are ahead of us in the curve. So that is why the usage of BOPP is more already there. And India would follow that curve, you think?
Yeah, so if you really see the big two regions where polyester is consumed much more is one is Asia, which is largely driven by India, China, and Japan. And second is America, where these are the two regions where polyester consumption is still very high. Obviously, part of it is because polyester lines were in plenty and therefore polyester players tried to promote polyester film, while the other regions always had more of BOPP players than polyester players, and that really drive the demand part of it. Having said so, I think a large part of it is to do with that all these developed countries always had better machines for sealing, and therefore BOPP worked very nicely on those machines. While countries like India and even China, which were very cost conscious and capex conscious, they always relied on very low cost sealing machines, and therefore they went on to use polyester film. Having said so, what they really missed is that they are saving some small amount of capital money, but they are eventually spending much more, because rather than a 3-layer structure, they could have shifted to a 2-layer structure with a BOPP film and could have saved much more cost in the medium term and long term. But I think they somehow missed, and now they're realizing that they can do it different. But even in India, if you really see biscuits, ice cream, chocolates, many such products are already on a BOPP layer. It's just that some of the other, basically namkeens and all such products which use a 3-layer structure or a 4-layer structure,
they go for the...
Yeah.
Understood, sir. Are there any specific areas or applications which BOPP has found now during the pandemic that were not there earlier? Any new market that you have come across during this pandemic where BOPP has started being used?
Yeah, I would say especially synthetic paper. There were two very nice applications which came out. One was for the face shield. You need something to hold the face shield. And we could see that our thick synthetic paper was used by some customers in Maharashtra, actually. That was one thing. And second thing is in America, one of the other things that we are seeing is that people were earlier using paper-based, the menu cards and some other reading material, and they were laminating it. Now the challenge was that the life of them was lower and they could not clean it as much as they wanted. What they realized with synthetic paper is that now with synthetic paper, they can continuously clean it with whatever disinfectants are there, and therefore the demand for synthetic paper in a couple of markets went up. Those are the only two things where we could see, and the other area that we could see is that companies who were moving on a sustainability drive, they also during this pandemic, because they realized that it's better to buy lesser number of films, and that will help them controlling the inventory and improve their supply chain. So they are also now pushing for the sustainability at a much higher level.
Okay. What is the role of BOPP in pharma? That is one area which is very much under focus now, and healthcare. How do you see it currently and the growth going forward?
Yes, so unfortunately, that is something, I would love to, but BOPP is not as much used for pharma. And it is something that we really need to understand. Obviously, it needs some oxygen barrier maybe, but more than that, it certainly needs more, the moisture barrier. Having said so, majority of the pharma is either packed in, let's say the rigid packaging or in the aluminum foil. Polyester again has been able to make a very small mark in this entire industry. So right now there is not much of BOPP which goes in these two areas. The only area where it goes is the overwrap film for the carton boxes. That area is certainly growing, but the possibilities are certainly more. It is just that we as an industry need to do much more work on that and be better prepared to service that industry. You're again on mute, Nidhi.
Yes, I'm going to keep it like that now. Sir, Cosmo's growth has always been based on, in-growth developments. That has been your strategy, one product majorly and building expertise on that. That is the way that you are going to be going forward also. It has, of course, given very good fruits. You've kept focused and, you've not kind of gone in for major acquisitions and mergers and nothing like that. Has been a thought through strategy. Are you going to be continuing with that, or you're going to be planning to go across the market and shop a bit?
Yeah, so Cosmo has done 2 acquisitions in the past. I think in the year 99-2000, Cosmo acquired Gujarat Propack when there were 3 companies. So that is way back. And then second acquisition was done for GBC Commercial. That was done in 2009. But as you rightly pointed out, both of them were in the area of BOPP largely. And since then, we continue to grow on BOPP. Our focus still lies on increasing our total portfolio of specialty films, and that remains a key mantra when it comes to film industry. Having said so, that does not preclude us from investing in polyester. We had, in fact, earlier announced a polyester line, and then we kind of put it on hold because of the reason that we realized that maybe sustainability might provide a concern around polyester. That is something that is we are always analyzing when is the right time to get into that. We are basically waiting for some technology to come which can handle multi-layer plastics in much better way. And once we have that, maybe at some point in time, we can look at polyester line. It is not totally eliminated at this stage. Having said so, we are also looking at multiple other areas that I cannot share because they are not in public domain. One area that is already in public domain is that we have made a new legal entity in the name of Cosmo Speciality Chemicals Private Limited, which is a 100% subsidiary of Cosmo Films. And we are now gradually coming into chemicals at large. There will be 3-4 major product lines which we are going to come in the chemical domain. Having said so, given that it is not in public domain, I cannot share much at this stage.
I hope, sir, that you are able to share that in our upcoming flexible packaging edition. Hopefully everything should be sorted and we should be hearing that from you there for the first time. We hope the conference happens at the same time that you have to kind of make your announcement.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on how the lessons that our converters and our Indian petchem industry should be taking from the pandemic based on your experience, Pankaj?
Yes, so I think I would not just say converters, but industry at large. I see a lot of companies are not even started their operations or, took a lot of time to start their operations. I don't know whether it was under fear or they wanted to leave a message to the employees, but, economic wealth is equally important. You cannot just sit at home. So first thing is, go out of your home and get back to your normal activity. Government did try to see that they can eliminate coronavirus completely out of the country, which could not happen for whatever reasons. And now that they have realized that medicine would be the only solution and social distancing and hygiene are the other solutions for it. So we'll have to get out and get back to work. So that is first thing is make a try. Unless you try it, you're never going to find a solution to it. So my first recommendation is try and keep trying it. And second is as a part of the business continuity plan, as I said earlier, let the senior management meet on a daily basis. Let's not be penny wise, pound foolish. Let's make sure that we make all the necessary arrangements for employees. Let's make sure that we make them feel comfortable. Communication is another important thing. You need to communicate with your employees much more than in the normal course. I can tell you that in the earlier course, I was on an average sending 1 or 2 communication in 2 months' time. And these days I'm sending 7-8 communications to all the employees in a month's time. That is the change that we have done, that we are trying to keep them engaged, letting them know that what we are doing, how we are doing, taking the suggestions from them and trying to implement them. So communication or two-way communication is very important. Regular meetings to try and sort out the issues. And once I'll tell you what's a very good example, which could be a very good learning. When initially in April, we had these challenges, and courier services were not operating from Aurangabad. And we had a lot of documents which had to be couriered internationally, because they had to release their goods and payments had already been received by us. We said that what needs to be done. And then we said, the truck driver take the documents to Bombay. One of our Mumbai employees took the document from the truck driver, delivered it to DHL office, because at that time only Delhi and Mumbai DHL offices were operating, and they then couriered it. So we had those kind of challenges, and people, I would say, really did more than their routine duty and went out of the way to try and see that operations can continue. And first of all, thanks to all Cosmo employees who showed the courage to get the things restarted, because that time there was a lot of fear in the minds of people. So hats off to all the employees of Cosmo Group. And I'm sure to all the other companies which had shown the courage and restarted their operations back. But important is to try, communicate daily, try sort out these issues, and I'm sure the way will be find out.
Perfect, sir. I think the leaders do kind of think quite alike. I spoke to Sodiji from Amul a little time back, and he said that communication, not only with your own team, but with also your customers, were the key.
Absolutely.
Communication. Chandu Bhai of Balaji, he said day before, "Jo dar gaya, wo mar gaya." He said, "Ghar mein baith ke kuch hone wala nahi hai, you need to go out." And to top it all, Sandeep Engineer from Astral, he said that go out and befriend COVID. And then all of us will have a happy Diwali. That was his message. So I think it is all collating to the same thought process. And yes, your experience is very valuable, because you did come out very early to start your operations also. And I think Pankaj also, for packaging industry, this pandemic has shown a very high sunshine rays, because our top lines have increased a lot, because packaging has the demand for that has increased in every field whatsoever. That is your comments for today. It has been really useful, and I'm sure our industry colleagues will learn from there and take the message. We thank you very much, and we are going to see you soon on the other side. And also for our viewers, please do block the 7th of June at 11th a.m. where the leaders of our plastic industry will be having a one-to-one session with Shri Ravi Shankarji. And we all are going to see you there. Till then, thank you so much again, and stay safe, sir.
Thank you, Nidhi. Take care. Thanks a lot.
For more videos on Insights with Nidhi Verma, please click the playlist tab on your left, and please subscribe to our channel by clicking our logo on the right. Do press the bell icon to never miss a video.